Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be trying out the Marc Jacobs Shameless foundation. I'm really excited. I have really high hopes for this. It sounds just like my type of foundation. Everything you need to know about the foundation will be up here somewhere. So without further ado, let's get it on my face. So I did look at a couple of other reviews and read about this foundation online, and people are saying, a couple of people said that it didn't really get on with their primer if they use a silicone primer. So I have just primed with my MAC Prep and Prime, the Radiant Yellow shade, just to make sure that there's nothing. That foundation primer has never disrupted any of my foundation, so hopefully that is going to be fine. The first thing is this packaging. Again, they've gone with like the plastic that seems to be like on trend at the moment, which I love because it's just so travel friendly and safe, especially like child friendly if a kid's gonna get hold of this. The size of it, I was really surprised. It's tiny. Here's my Fit Me. As you can see, it looks really small, but it does have 32 mils, which is a decent amount. So I'm really liking that these bigger brands are kind of giving us a bit more like value for money at the moment with, you know, all these foundations coming out with extra few mils, like the Huda, the Fenty, the Dior Forever. They've all kind of given us a little bit extra for our money, which I'm always a fan of. It did come out with a brush for this foundation, which I haven't purchased because they took enough of my dollars with this. So I'm gonna try it one side with brush and one side with sponge, but presumably they think it's best with the brush that they sell it with. So we will see what we think. Shade-wise, I picked up the shade 270, which is supposed to be like light medium with yellow as usual. So we will see. All my shade comparisons are in the description box. Did I shake it? Oh. Quite a noticeable scent as you pour it out, and it's quite liquidy. You can see it traveling a little bit down my hand there. Does look a good shade. So I'm gonna start with the Beauty Blender on this side and just like splodge on my Beauty Blender and see how we get on. Okay, so it's a really light coverage. I'm kind of expecting this is gonna be similar to my Clinique Even Better Glow, which I love. The shade is absolutely perfect, but you know, when a foundation is like a bit less heavy coverage, it can be a lot more forgiving because it's obviously not as noticeable if the shade's a bit off, but this looks spot on for me. I did use that whole amount, which was quite a lot with the sponge, but that's, I guess, what happens, isn't it? So I'm gonna go in with the brush now and see if a little bit goes a bit further. The brush I'm using is quite different to the brush that they've made for this foundation. Theirs was a lot more along the lines of like the Fenty foundation brush, whereas mine is obviously the Sigma F80. It's more of a kabuki rather than the sort of smoothing type foundation brush, with the flatter head. So perhaps that's the best type of brush to use. Do you know what, so far it's just going on a little, it's taken quite a lot of work to get an even finish. Once I kind of finish putting everything on, I'll zoom you in and we'll see how it's all settled in. It's definitely got a lot of luminosity to it, which is really lovely. I love that. It's not really soaking into my fine lines or on my mouth just yet, but it'll be a miracle if that doesn't occur in the next few minutes. So definitely more coverage on the brush side, but yeah, it definitely looks better on the sponge side. So I imagine this is probably going to be one of these where it's better to either use a similar brush to theirs or buy their brush, or go in with like a brush first so that you can get your coverage and then go over with a sponge. But yeah, there's definitely more coverage here, but I prefer how this looks. The actual coverage is really quite light at this point. I'm gonna try and build it up using the sponge so I can get a nice even finish. So I'm just gonna go in with some more. I feel like when they give you extra product, that kind of to me indicates that it's not one of these foundations where a little goes a long way, because I feel like that's why they're giving you more product. But then that was not the case with Huda. Her foundation goes a very long way with a tiny amount, and she gave us extra mils. So I'm obviously not right about that. I feel like it really is not looking great where I have like texture. I don't have particularly like any kind of visible pores or anything, but I feel like this is almost making my pores visible, and it's not being particularly kind to like my textured area around here. You can see on my hand, well, you can't really see because it's such a good shade match that it's like disappeared, but it's not looking like it, as it's drying down, it's changing at all. Really gorgeous like glow to it, which is what I was hoping for. I'd still say it's very much a light medium. It's definitely not like a good medium. I'd say it's light to medium still with that build up. So they did specifically say that they were going for a foundation that has SPF but that does not flash back in flash photography. So I'm going to take a flash photo now, and there better not be any. So yeah, I would agree there isn't any flash back really happening or white cast in that photo, so I'm really happy with that. That is a real bonus for a foundation that does have a decent level of SPF in it. So I'm just going to zoom you in a little bit now so you can see me close up, and I'm going to turn my lights down so you can see even better. So yeah, a nice, I mean, I love that finish. This is my dream finish. This is everything I look for as far as the glow. It is perfect. Very similar to my Clinique Even Better Glow. Coverage, you can still see some redness. You can see all of my beauty marks, obviously, around here. Definitely some redness peeking through, but it's just slightly, I don't think it's actually applied unevenly, which is what I was thinking. I think it's more that it is really highlighting my texture, so that's making it look more uneven than I would like. It's quite cakey kind of around my nose area. It's kind of caked up around here and the sides of my nose. I don't know how well you'll be able to see that, but it doesn't look the best around my nose. It has now soaked into my smile lines as I expected, because every foundation does. It looks pretty decent on my forehead. Okay, so I just finished up the rest of my makeup, and then I've just gone and looked in my mirror in my kitchen, because I feel like quite often I will film the start of a foundation review and I'll be like, I'm on the fence, doesn't look great. And then I go and look in a normal mirror without all these lights, because that can really be quite exaggerating of any sort of problems or anything like that that's going on. So I've just done that now, and I'm telling you, I'm dying. Definitely, I feel like if I look really, really close up and really, really zoom, this textured area here looks exaggerated a little bit. However, looking in the viewfinder here and in the mirror here, which is like, you know, half a foot away from my face, it looks stunning, stunning. And when I looked in my mirror in the kitchen, I was just like, oh my God, it's just the perfect coverage that I love, that sort of medium coverage, but looks so natural, looks like nothing on the skin. The luminosity is stunning. It's not dewy, but it is as luminous as you could probably get without being dewy, which is like my life is made. It actually looks, from this just slight distance, really, really smooth and flawless. Everything went on top of it really, really well, which I think is really important for a more luminous to dewy foundation, because they don't tend to dry down. So when you're buffing, that can move things, but it hasn't. It just looks... It does claim to be a 24-hour wearing foundation that doesn't transfer, so I am going to give this a good wear test today. It's my little boy's birthday, so we're going out for lunch. We're going to be running around, playing with kids, rubbing faces, all that usual fun and games. So we are going to be putting it to the test. So yeah, I'm really, really have high hopes that this is going to be wearing well, because this is really going to be pushing my Clinique Even Better Glow. Because if anything, I feel like this is a hair, currently at the start point, a hair ahead, because that one really does emphasize my texture. I always wear a really smoothing primer with that one. I would say that currently this one looks a little bit more flattering on my textured areas than that one. I guess when you're a bit older, in your 30s, and you have texture and lines and things like that, luminous dewy foundations can be unkind to that. So you do usually need, I do anyway, usually need to use a smoothing primer. So given that this looks so gorgeous just at that slight distance away, I feel like this could take out my Even Better Glow. I think the finish is even more beautiful. So yeah, as I said, my foundation, I finished putting my foundation on at about 10:15, so I'm gonna give this a good 8 to 9 hours, and then I will be back to show you where we're at. See you in a few. Hi guys, we are back, and it is now just coming up to 7:10. Let me tell you, I am very impressed. So this is the like 9-hour mark, and I think we're looking really good, especially for a like luminous to almost dewy / radiant finish. It's still really nice and luminous. This is obviously highlight here, but you can see the fact that you can still see my highlight so strongly. You can still see my bronzer and my blush. The fact that there is really no obvious fading in this area, which is where I start to see my redness peek through, I think is really, really good, especially with a luminous foundation with a lighter coverage. Like I said, generally matte foundations are longer wearing. Obviously, I don't have oily skin. I wouldn't totally discount this if you have oily skin, given that we're at the 9-hour mark and there is like, you know, no shine, no fading in this area, no no problems here, and very little problems with my chin. It was my little boy's birthday today. It's also very warm. I'll show you my nose area because we've got a couple of things going on there when we zoom in, but I was wearing sunglasses for 3 or 4 hours today, and I have not touched this area, you know, where you get those marks from the sunglasses, and there is literally the tiniest rubbing off there. Like probably the best I've ever got on with a foundation coping with sunglasses or glasses rubbing on that nose area. It barely shows at all. So I'm gonna zoom in and lights down so you can see exactly what's going on. So here you might just about be able to see what I'm talking about. The tiniest bit of fading just here where my sunglasses were, and on the tip of my nose, the foundation is starting to cake. I'm sure you guys can see just here, but if not, take my word for it. The smallest amount of fading on my chin. As I said, you know, I was with my children all day, playing, running around, and that my nose and my chin is where, you know, you get rubbed on your kids and stuff like that. It is probably just about starting to see more redness peeking through. Obviously it wasn't full coverage, so you could always see my skin through, but there is maybe the first sort of signs of fading just here, which for the 9-hour mark, I think this is really, really good. I don't like to use the Holy Grail term too soon, but the finish of this and the coverage is everything I look for in a foundation. This is very similar to my Clinique Even Better Glow, which is my ultimate favorite. However, this has slightly more coverage and I think it wears slightly better. So it is going to be very close, and I think I might even prefer the finish of this. It might even be slightly more beautiful than that. I would say that if your main concern is texture, I do think, like most more luminous foundations, this is not the kindest on texture. It's certainly not as smoothing as like my Fenty foundation or the Huda foundation on my skin. Both of those actually really minimize texture. This one is not doing anything for my texture. It's not necessarily making it look worse, but it certainly isn't making it look any better than it normally does. So if your main concern is texture and lines, I'm not sure you're going to like it. If you're a dry-skinned person, I think you will really enjoy it because it does feel very moisturizing, very lightweight, and it's obviously got that SPF as well in there and those good ingredients. So I think that you would really like it if you had dry skin. I've got normal skin and I love it. I do want to give it a few more goes before I tell you it's amazing, it's my everything, it's the only foundation I'm ever going to purchase ever again, but I will let you know, as always, in the comments over the next few days how I'm still liking it and how I'm getting on, and you might see it coming to a favourites video near you soon. Also, final point, a couple of times I scratched myself, like just by accident, nicked myself, and nothing happened. I haven't noticed any transfer at all, and I definitely haven't noticed any oxidizing or changing of color at all since the second I put it on. So that's all good news. I really hope you found this review helpful. If you did, please don't forget to like and subscribe before you go so that we can see each other again. Otherwise, take care for now. Bye 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 bye.